Hello and welcome back to my channel once again. And in this video we'll basically be talking about the second method that we'll be using to create our backgrounds for animation. In the previous video I talked about how to draw everything yourself in layers so that it aids in when you're creating your animation. But this one, specifically the second one, is where we're going to have to download an image from any source, or you can take pictures of your own environment or actually download them from the internet. So that's what we're going to do for today. So for now, let's just hop onto the internet and then find a few things we can get for the background images. So let's say we are going to create what kind of background should we create? Okay, let me use a living room since that would be kind of more relatable. So we have a lot of complex images that we can use, but it's a bit, too stuffy. Let's look for a sample one that we can just crop out any object if we need to. Okay, I think this will do. Alright, so I have my downloaded image right here. So I'm going to be basically turning this into a two-dimensional image with some filters that are over at Photoshop. And the objects that I need to be above other layers, above other stuff in the image, I'll just kind of crop them out and then put them on a higher layer. So I'm going to show you very soon. I'm not sure if this is 16 by 9, so I'm not just going to put it directly in Photoshop. I'm going to create a document in Photoshop that is in 16 by 9. Then I'll move this in and see how I can, composite it better. So just like we did before, go to new file, film and video, 1920 by 1080, which is 16 by 9 aspect ratio. Then we go to create. Now we have a correct aspect ratio over here. Now I can just simply just drag and drop the image into Photoshop, and I can just scale it out. Alright, so with an image like this, let me kind of duplicate this so I don't lose the original file. With an image like this, what we're going to do is we're going to put a filter on this image so that it looks like a two-dimensional artwork. So I'll just go on to filter at the menu bar, click filter gallery. I'm going to open this, and as you can see here, I already have some filters that I used, but I'm going to turn them off. So this is the actual image. This is the actual image without any filters on. So there's always going to be a default filter created here, and all you have to do is browse through these types of filter categories. And the first one I'm going to try to use is artistic, where we have the cutout filter. Now the cutout filter kind of simplifies the whole image into fewer colors. So as you can see, without the filter we have all the details kind of showing over here. When I turn on the cutouts, kind of simplifies it into simple two-dimensional shapes. Two flat colors, yes. Now over here I can change the settings to make it less detailed or more detailed, depending on the kind of effect that I'm looking for. And I can just change the edge simplicity to make it a little bit more abstract, edge fidelity to make it look more realistic as the original picture was. So with something like this, you can actually animate flat animated characters on it without making it look so weird. But if it wasn't there, it wouldn't look too weird because they don't really exist. They don't seem to exist in the same environment. And you can also add a texture filter. But first, before you add another filter, you have to press the additive, the new effects layer over here, and it creates a new one. Then you choose a texture you want, which is texturizer. This will kind of give us a paper feel to make it look like it was drawn on paper. You can change your settings as you see fit. So you can just click OK, and everything you've done will be applied to the image. Yeah, so with this you can basically just create a new layer and then go ahead to add your own personal details that you want. Maybe you want to create line art for the environment to make it look like it was hand drawn. That's fine. I mean, the picture is basically yours for now. So yeah, you can just basically go ahead and then put in your details the way you want it. Putting in the details will help you kind of make it match the style of your animation. But since this is just a demonstration, I'm not gonna go ahead and do a finish the whole work. Just gonna put these in a group and then move on to the next thing that I want to talk about. So let's hide this. Now, the downside of this method is that you're not going to have the objects in layers because it's just going to be one flat image. So if your background is very simple, where the characters won't have to interact with any objects, that's fine. You can just go ahead and do your thing. But if you have a more complex scene where, let's say, the character is going to walk all the way to sit on the sofa. Now, if he sits on the sofa, that means his legs are going to be behind this prop, the table. And so this table must be on a higher layer. So we're basically going to recreate that. You're basically going to select. So this, what I'm going to teach you right now, is a way to prevent that problem from being an actual problem for you. So you can use the quick selection tool to select the shape of the table and maybe what's on top of it if you want. Or you can take a much simpler approach to use the object selection tool. That's if you're using a later version of Photoshop. It uses its own intelligence to find the object that you want to select. But mind you, this usually crashes most of the software, so it's not so advisable to be using it all the time. So as you can see, it has created a basic selection for me. Now I can go ahead and then take my time and do the cleanup of the selection. So remember, we're not necessarily going to cut this off. We're going to just, duplicate only the selection, and we do that by right clicking. Remember, if you right click with a different tool like a brush tool, you're not going to get the same settings. If you right click with any other tool, it's not going to work. You have to be right clicking with any of the selection tools. It has to be one of them. So you right click, you go to layer via copy. This means it's going to make a copy of whatever is in the selection on a layer. Now if I turn this on, you can see the table is on a whole new layer, but we still have the table here even if we turn on off the one that we just cut out. So let me just duplicate this so I don't lose the original image. Rasterize the layer. Alright, so we're going to find a way to clear the table off so that in case we have to move this table layer somewhere else in the animation, we'll be able to move it without the table still being in the center of the picture. Basically, if we move this we should be seeing an empty carpet surface over here. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but I think it's going to make sense as I do it. So basically, I'm going to get back the selection of the table by pressing and holding Control and then clicking the icon of the thumbnail of the layer. That way I get to select everything that's in the layer. I hide this. I'll hide this one and then go back to this layer. Now, instead of just cleaning it to have a transparent background, I don't want the place to be transparent, so I'm not going to just clean it up like that. I'm going to rather press and hold Shift backspace, and then it will bring up this fill feature. Now over here at the contents, you have to make sure it's on content aware. Now this is basically going to use its intelligence. It's kind of an artificial intelligence in some way. It's going to basically clear off this side of the picture and fill it with something that looks like the things around it. So it's going to scan everything in the picture and try to put a favorable image to replace it. Make sure color adaptation is on, then you go to OK. Now as you can see, it's not so perfect, but you can see it's trying to make up for what we lost in that image. So the best thing we can do is to expand the selection that we made before we did the content aware thing. We can go to select, modify, expand. This is going to expand the space that we've selected. Let's say 10 pixels. Okay, it has increased the expansion that we had before and after. Then we are going to do the shift backspace all over again. Content aware, color adaptation. Okay. Oh, it's not so different, but basically we just have to go ahead and do a few edits over here. We can use you can use your, what's it called, clone stamp tool or whatever you want to use. Since we're not going to do something so detailed in the end, I can just paint over it with a soft brush. Alright, with something like this, it's quite clean. So I'm basically going to turn this on and you see our table is back. Everything looks perfect. Before, after, before, after. Yes. So now we have a perfect background. I'm going to apply the filter to it. So I'm going to choose this image. Go to filter, filter gallery. Now the previous filters I used are going to repeat themselves on the image, which is good because I get to use the same filters that I wanted without having to create them all over again. So I just go to OK, and now our background is filtered. Now we're going to do the same to this layer that we cut out from the main image. So we go to filter, filter gallery. The same thing has happened to it, exactly the way we want it. Click OK. And now we have them in one picture, but in separate layers. So now if I'm creating a whole character, let's say the character that's supposed to be sitting on the sofa. Now I can draw the character on the sofa and his legs will be behind the table just as we want it. If I turn off the table, you can see the full character is there. If I turn it back on, covers it, overlaps it, exactly the way we need it to be. See? So that's basically the essence of kind of cutting the image and then applying the filter all over again. This is the second method that you can use to create your backgrounds for animations. and you don't necessarily have to use this method because it's just for the function. This whole method is just to help you get the function that you want. So if you feel like you can't draw the whole background from scratch, this might be the best method for you to use. And yeah, basically that's it for this video. The next video will be about the third method, which is generating your images with AI. And it's basically almost the same method that we're using for this, just that we'll be creating the images with AI softwares or programs online, and probably ones that you can install on your local PC. Alright, so that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.